Welcome to a candidate forum for California State Senate District 6. The candidates in alpha order are Roger Nilo and Paula Viesquez. This forum is sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Sacramento County and the Sacramento Metro Cable Television Commission. I'm Paula Lee, a member of the League of Women Voters of Sacramento, and I'll be the moderator for the forum. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization of men and women. We work at all levels of government, national, state, and local, to encourage the informed and the active participation in government. We're also a political organization. We do not support or oppose candidates or parties, and although we do not oppose candidates, we are political in that we do take positions and make recommendations on ballot measures and legislation. We do this after careful study. You can find our positions on our website. And if you're interested in public policy or you just want to support our work, we invite you to join us. The format today for this forum will be as follows. Both speakers will have 2 minutes for an opening statement, and then they'll answer questions in rotating order and have 1 minute to answer. Finally, they'll have a 1-minute closing statement. The timer is League volunteer Claudia Bonsignore. She's in the front row. She'll give you the 30-second sign when you have 30 seconds left, and of course, the stop sign. So we'll begin with an opening statement from Paula Viesquez. Paula?
Good afternoon, and thank you to the League of Women Voters and sponsors for hosting this forum. I'm Paula Viesquez. I'm a school board member and an advocate for all Californians, including our most vulnerable neighbors. I'm running for state senate to tackle some of California's toughest challenges and make sure that everyone can share in the prosperity and the fruits of California's promise, regardless of their skin color or what zip code they come from. When I look at California, I see a state that has been a leader on many issues, but has also left too many behind. We have too many Californians without access to good, affordable health care, without access to a consistent, affordable place to live, and without access to adequately funded schools. Soaring costs of living have made it too hard for families to get by and live with dignity. I know what it means to fight and win tough battles. In addition to growing up in poverty and being raised by a single mom who worked multiple jobs to make ends meet, in college, I was diagnosed with a rare metastatic cancer. This experience gave me a front row seat to the inequities in our healthcare system and fueled my passion for creating a future where everyone has access to quality, affordable healthcare. I have since worked tirelessly to fight for better educational and health outcomes for all. I've seen some tough fights, and I know how it feels when the deck is stacked against you. I have what it takes to tackle the challenges that we face. Together, we can face them. If elected, I will bring this optimism and determination to work every day on behalf of the residents of Senate District 6. I hope I can earn your vote.
Roger Nilo.
Thank you, Paula, and thank you to the League for hosting this debate, as you have so many others that I've participated in the past. My name is Roger Nilo. I grew up in Sacramento, spent most of my life here, and married to my wife, Mary, of 52 years. We have 5 adult children and 6 grandchildren, virtually all of them living also in the area. As I'm a co-owner of a local business that is very involved in and dedicated to our community actually, as of last year, we've been in the car business for 100 years in Northern California. With my past experience, 6 years on the Board of Supervisors here in this chamber and 6 years in the State Assembly, I am very familiar with this district, the 6th Senate District, and with the legislative process. That and my demonstrated collaborative and collegial approach, which is, as the Sacramento Bee stated it in their endorsement of me, I'm ready to hit the ground running. And you can learn more at rogernielo.com. I look forward to earning your vote. Thank you very much.
Okay, Roger, we'll begin the first question with you. Neighborhood crime continues to grow, and many in recent years have called for a new, broader vision of public safety in our communities. What is yours?
We have had so many attempts to reform the criminal justice system over the last decade or so, and each one of them having unintended consequences. Proposition 57, Proposition 47, legislation that has been passed, and my vision for criminal justice is to crack down on crime and increase funding for public safety.
Paula?
Thank you for the question. My vision for public safety is a community where everyone feels safe in our community to work, to live, and to recreate. And I want to acknowledge that right now, too many people don't feel that safety, and we certainly have a lot of work to do. My vision of public safety is to create a better working relationship with law enforcement officials and community members based on mutual trust and understanding. It's hard to police communities that are not understood, are misunderstood, or are under-resourced. My vision of public safety is a community policing-based vision where there's mutual respect and cooperation, and where our law enforcement partners and agencies are adequately funded to provide the safety of our communities.
Sticking with his subject, how will you work to reduce the epidemic of gun violence in our communities?
Thank you for that question. And in particular, as a future mother, I sit here ready to fight every single day for a future free from gun violence. That is incredibly important to me, and I'm proud to be the only candidate in this race endorsed by, or rather, as a Gun Sense candidate of distinction from Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. Though California has some of the toughest gun violence prevention laws in the country, there's still more work to be done. In particular, we have to work in earnest to take illegal guns off the streets and work in partnership with our law enforcement to create a future free from gun violence.
Roger?
We do indeed need to enforce the laws that we have. California has among the tightest gun regulation laws in the country, and we certainly need to enforce those laws. The recent gun violence, the horrible situations that we've seen, have been the result of, as is the case with so many other issues that face us now, serious mental illness, and that is something that we need to address at the core. It is very expensive to address mental illness, but we do need to get a handle on that.
California is grappling with the complex issue of a growing number of residents who are homeless in our state. What is causing this growth, and what do you propose as a solution to this complex situation?
Local communities are compromised in their ability to address this, largely because of policies at the state and federal level. The underlying cause of homelessness is fundamentally mental illness and substance abuse. Affordable housing is certainly part of it, providing shelter to people who are on the streets is certainly part of it, but we must find a way to compel people to treatment for substance abuse and mental illness, and unfortunately, in many cases, it's a combination of the two.
As someone who grew up struggling with housing security, and also as a first-generation homeowner, I understand this issue firsthand and very personally. And it's worth noting that in California, the fastest growing population of unhoused neighbors are seniors. Our housing problem is significantly an affordability issue. People cannot afford their homes. People lose their homes because they can't afford health care and other basic necessities to make ends meet. And this is something that I tackled as Assistant Secretary for Health and Human Services Agency. I have the experience necessary to continue to be a champion on this front. And fundamentally, it's the state's role to ensure that our local governments are working together in cooperation to solve this very complex issue. No one county, no one municipality is going to solve this problem on their own. So it's the state's responsibility to both incentivize but ensure and hold accountable our local governments to tackle this complex issue.
Paula Viescas, for Californians not homeless yet, the lack of affordable homes for purchase and rent is at crisis proportions across our state. The Gender Equity Policy Institute found that women disproportionately struggle with housing costs in California, particularly Black and Latino women. Do you support inclusionary housing laws that go beyond the voluntary incentives and housing trust fees, but require developers to build a percentage of affordable homes? Why or why not?
Yes, I do. And I do so because I understand housing insecurity as a Latina woman in this community. I grew up housing insecure. With me and my mom, we faced a number of challenges keeping a roof over our head, and oftentimes weren't exactly sure where that next stable roof was going to come from. I understand this issue firsthand, and despite my mom working 2 jobs to make ends meet, despite me working as soon as I was old enough to get a worker's permit, we still could not make ends meet. And so that's why this issue is particularly important to me. And even now, as my mom ages in the community of Roseville, it's very personal and important to me to make sure that she's able to maintain her current residence and a safe and secure place to live. These challenges are real, and you can count on me with the lived experience that I bring and the professional experience that I bring to tackle this issue in the State Senate.
Roger Nilo?
Affordable housing is an acute problem, particularly in the state of California. We have very high costs here driven by public fees, driven by the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, that has been weaponized when certain people are opposed to housing projects. And these things drive up the cost of housing here significantly more than they do in other areas. Those reforms largely have to take place at the state level, which I would support.
Roger Nilo, what is your position on Proposition 31, the measure on the California ballot that would prohibit in-person stores and vending machines from selling flavored tobacco products and flavor enhancers? The issue with regard to flavored products is it provides the opportunity for people addicted to tobacco to get off of tobacco on the electronic forms of that. With regard to tobacco products themselves, I favor the limitation of the selling of flavored tobacco products. Paula?
I support Proposition 31, and particularly as a school board member, I have seen firsthand how tobacco companies in particular have preyed upon our youth with tobacco-flavored products, with special packaging meant to entice our children, and I know firsthand the long-term impacts of that on our children here in our community. And so for those reasons, I support Proposition 31. I also want to note that I am the only candidate in this race that has not taken money from the tobacco industry.
Paula, what is your position on Prop 30? That's the 1.75% increase in tax on personal income over $2 million, and that the resources from that would go to funding more emission-free vehicles and the infrastructure for charging stations.
I certainly support the intent behind Proposition 30, and in general, the challenge with propositions is that should there be a circumstance down the road where a provision of that proposition needs to be altered in some way in order to further achieve its intent, it's incredibly difficult to do. It's not an act of the legislature. It has to go back to voters. And I do have some concerns about Proposition 30 and the potential impacts on Prop 98 funding and funding to our education system. However, the intent of Proposition 30 to fund and further meet our zero emission goals is something that I support.
Roger.
I'm opposed to that proposition, not so much because of the substance of the proposition itself, but because our budget writing process in this state is handicapped significantly by what I call ballot box budgeting. So many propositions that have been passed that dictate to the state certain aspects of the budget that limit budget writers' flexibility to balance a budget. This is another example of that, and I would oppose it.
Roger and Paula, we have many questions on climate, the first one. So you'll have other opportunities other than this first 1 minute. What should voters expect from you on environmental and climate change action?
Voters can expect me to work diligently on mitigation factors. We need to increase our water supply. We need to increase our forest management with regard to wildfires. Mitigation will help us to navigate the effects of climate change.
Voters can expect from me to continue to work towards our 100% renewable energy in an accelerated but also in an equitable way, in a way that both benefits and impacts all of our communities with equity in mind. The impacts of climate change are real and they're a present danger as we speak. Climate change has led to record-breaking heat that makes it difficult for seniors, for our neighbors living with a disability to live safely throughout all seasons of the year. Even figuring out how to ensure that our school children are safe during the day, during an acute climate emergency has become a challenge. So there's no doubt that the climate change impacts are here and they're real. And in the Senate, I will work to modernize California's electrical grid so that clean energy can be reliably stored and used when we need it. And I'll also work to ensure that green economy trades and jobs are widely available to make sure that the future and that our green economy has workers in mind and can make sure that it benefits all of our communities and that workers can participate as well.
Air quality improvement and greenhouse gas reductions are urgent regional goals. How will you manage competing interests of low-density housing development and increased highway roadway travel against mass transit utilization and active transportation, such as walking, biking?
I think these are two interests that need to be taken hand in hand, and we need to be able to achieve both at the same time. And in fact, a regional plan of growth and sustainability would in fact allow for both the increase of housing and the associated transit related to that, but to ensure also that we have walkable paths and an environment where communities can thrive, where our families can enjoy parks, et cetera. So these are not mutually exclusive goals to tackle. And I think a regional plan for growth across Placer and Sacramento counties is what is key for this success. And that's really where the state comes in to facilitate that regional cooperation around counties, and between municipalities as well.
Sacramento County's Measure A is a balanced measure in that regard, developing roads to reduce congestion, free-flowing traffic pollutes less than gridlock traffic, increased funding for regional transit to the airport and otherwise. A balanced approach like that works best. We can't drive all housing to the density of the urban core. Many families are two-wage earner families, and they don't work in the same area, and we have to have housing opportunities around the region so that each person has the optimum commute.
One of our questions was supporting Measure A because part of your district is in Sacramento County. So would you like to respond to your support or opposition to Measure A?
I do not support Measure A.
Okay, now, Paula. California has a goal of all new cars sold by 2035 being zero emissions. As gasoline sales decrease, so does gasoline sales tax revenue, a significant source of revenue for the state and cities. Do you support zero emissions, that goal? And if so, how should California replace this revenue source?
I do support our zero emission goals, and I think we need to gradually replace this critical revenue that comes to our local governments and hold big oil companies accountable. There's no shortage of profits in California associated with the use and consumption of oil. It's about redistributing that and making sure that everybody pays their fair share. And California is the only major oil-producing state, including the state of Texas, that does not have any kind of cost associated with actually extracting oil out of the ground. Now, this is a bipartisan issue that exists in many other oil-producing states. It's time in California that oil companies pay their fair share so that we aren't struggled and so that our communities aren't placed with the burden of that.
Paula, would you repeat the question, particularly the second part of it?
Sure. Essentially, the goal is to have zero emissions by 2035, and gasoline sales are going to go down with that. So do you support that goal of zero emissions? And if so, how are we going to replace that revenue from that tax revenue from gas?
I do support alternative fuel vehicles to dictate that the so-called zero-emission vehicles will be the only vehicles sold by 2035 is a dictate from the state that may or may not coincide with what's available in the marketplace and what people can afford. And I say so-called zero-emission because battery vehicles, electric vehicles, are not zero emission in terms of their production, and the disposal of the battery is a huge challenge. And we're trying to move so quickly in that direction that is causing the increase in gas prices that we're seeing, as well as the fragility of our electric grid. So I think we need to work on a transition period as we work toward that goal.
I'll just note that it's a goal, not a mandate, as the questioner says. Paula, we all know women are pushed out of the workforce to fill caregiving gaps for their families or themselves, especially during the pandemic. However, low-income women cannot afford to leave work. Have you supported paid family leave? Or do you support it now?
I have always supported paid family leave and saw firsthand the devastating impacts, and particularly from COVID and what COVID laid bare in terms of the inequities that exist in providing both childcare, but it's important to look at the other side of the spectrum as well of providing care for our aging family members. But I 100% enthusiastically support paid leave. In particular, this issue has taken on a new urgency as an expecting mom. And we absolutely must fight to continue to advance paid family leave for all, to make sure that all of our families and all of our children have the best chance at success.
We have to be very careful when imposing mandates on businesses and the impact that it will have on a particular business. At a high threshold of employment, it can make sense. For very small businesses, it can be unaffordable. So I do not support it on a blanket basis.
Roger Nilo, what is your position on Props 26 and 27, the confusing and competing gambling propositions with big money spent to pass them?
They are so confusing and so competing that they're probably both going to go down to defeat. I am absolutely opposed to Proposition 27, turning these devices into gambling devices, as the advertisements have said, is something that I think is a dangerous thing for us to undertake. And the promise of homelessness assistance is a ruse. If we are going to have gambling, sports gambling, restricting it to brick and mortar locations does make sense, which makes Proposition 26 supportable.
In general, I want to express once more the frustration with the proposition system. Oftentimes, propositions are put on ballots after the legislature has either ignored the problem or decided not to tackle a tough issue. And this is certainly a prime example of that, where you've got a number of large industries fighting for a referendum on their future and looking in particular for profits. And so as a whole, propositions are difficult for me to support. Proposition 27 in particular seems to be, a promise without a real solution at the end of it. I don't think that it will live up to solving, finally our homeless solutions. And in fact, there's been a number of funders who've come from out of state and are instead looking to secure funding that would take that outside of California, at the harm of increasing sports betting and making it much more accessible and dangerous for our communities.
What can you do as a senator to support underserved students and ensure that all Californians have access to a quality education in our state?
I'm pretty sure this is me first, yes. I just wanted to make sure. And thank you for this question. As certainly as a school board member, this is something that I have tackled since being elected to the San Juan Unified School District Board of Education in 2016. And myself, as a student who was in the kind of quote-unquote underserved categories, but also as a student who found my most reliable meal at school through the free and reduced meal lunch program, I know how critical it is to invest in and continue to support all of our students, including our underserved student populations. And this is something that I've been a champion for as a school board member. This includes specific resources and grants made available to the variety of community members, and taking a multi-generational approach of supporting both our students and our families and our parents to ensure that their needs are met so that our children can learn in school. And this is work that I look forward to continuing to champion as a member of the State Senate.
Roger?
One of the tragic situations in our state is the inequity of education outcomes, particularly in disadvantaged neighborhoods. And even as we speak, results are being withheld by the superintendent, the state superintendent of education. The key to that problem certainly is, to a certain extent, funding, but I think our education system needs more competition. Charter schools provide that competition, and there is way too much resistance among our education establishment to allow the establishment of charter schools.
Roger, how would you describe the water crisis in California? What do you propose, if elected to the Senate, to improve our water storage and this crisis?
It's hard for us to remember, given the drought that we've had recently, that California, particularly Northern California, has significant flooding risks too. So the challenge of water management is that we alternatively have too little and too much. We need more storage. We should have already gotten started on the site's reservoir, and we need to maintain on-stream storage to mitigate the flood control threat that still exists when the rain does come in more copious amounts.
Here in Northern California, the challenge of water and having it when we need it is certainly a big one and a life-threatening one as we move forward. We absolutely must expand California's water storage capacity and invest in the construction of more groundwater banks across the state, and especially here in Northern California. And while we're heavily reliant, of course, on the snowpacks in the Sierra that every year have a little bit of a diminished return, but preserving that water while it's there and using it while we can, is important. Second, California should expand the use of solar power technology along California's aqueduct to reduce the amount of water that is lost to evaporation. We absolutely must move into a conserve and preserve mindset, particularly as our future in terms of water has become more and more precarious in recent years.
Paula, what are the biggest challenges to developing much-needed housing and then making it accessible to those who really need it?
I think one of the biggest challenges in terms of housing, first and foremost, it's an inventory issue. It's a numbers game at the top of it. We have too many regions in California where the necessary inventory has not kept up with the amount of housing units that we need in order to successfully house everyone. In addition to that, it's also about housing placement. It's location, location, location. There's not enough housing located near and in close proximity to where people live, work, and travel. I believe that California should allow higher density buildings around transit corridors in order to make housing more affordable.
I mentioned this in answer to a previous question. California has the highest cost of housing in the entire country, and it is driven largely by significant fees at the local level, and also the effect of CEQA lawsuit challenges that many times have very little to do with environmental quality issues. We have built-in policies that drive up the cost of housing that need to be reformed.
Roger, what will you do? What more must the state do to increase access to affordable child care for middle and low-income families?
Child care is an extremely important part of any family's economic well-being, and I support subsidy of child care. That was part of the very successful welfare reform of the mid-90s, was offering a child care assistance, and I would support that.
This is a critical issue, particularly for me in the next few months, but it's an issue that many families face across the board. And I can recall growing up that the challenge of childcare was that childcare was more expensive than our rent, and it created a frequent crisis on a monthly basis of how we were going to make ends meet. We absolutely must invest in our childcare system, and it's worth noting that it was completely devastated throughout COVID. Many of our childcare providers that had to close their door have not been able to reopen. And a lot of that has to do with how we pay for childcare. And I support preserving and expanding the supply of quality, affordable childcare for all Californians, including increasing wages and reimbursement rates for our childcare providers. The way we fund childcare in California is incredibly inconsistent and unreliable, making it very impossible for our childcare providers to keep their doors open, and this is something that I will prioritize as your state senator.
Paula, the drought and the war in Ukraine have highlighted how reliant our region is on natural resources. How can the region and California become more resource independent?
Absolutely, and there certainly have been a number of recent international events that have highlighted our dependence on certain energy sources, and also have noted how fragile it is and how unreliable it is. We absolutely must diversify our portfolio and how we gain and keep and grow power in California, and I'm proud of some of the steps of our local utility district here. The Sacramento Municipal Utility District, SMUD, has been at the forefront of how do we make sure that our energy needs are met in a way that is consistent and reliable to withstand the number of different challenges that we face now and in the future. And so I look forward to continuing to work cooperatively and grow the models such as SMUD across the board to successfully meet our energy needs. Issues such as electrical power, one of those big challenges, of course, storing the excess power that's made, but also creating it in an equitable way. So there's a number of different ways to diversify our fuel portfolio that will be critically important in years to come.
Recent circumstances would suggest that we are moving way too quickly without any transition plans toward renewable power sources, as well as fossil fuel alternatives. We have the established policy of eliminating fossil fuels, which in the meantime discourages any investment in the transition period, causing supply problems, which we've seen, and spike in prices. And our grid was terribly challenged in our recent heat wave, and largely because of an over-reliance on renewables.
Roger, the pension system in California is becoming very expensive. Do you have any suggestions to improve the California pension system?
I had a reform proposed a number of years ago that would have modified the state pension system, increased the retirement age, and somewhat reduced the percentage benefit. It was not a proposal to make the current defined benefit plan a defined contribution plan, but would have made the system much more sustainable. Our systems are underfunded, and we continue to need reform, as we did 10 years ago when I made that proposal.
I think it's critical that we maintain the promises that we've made to our workers, and in particular our public employees. And initiatives such as the ones my opponent just discussed would have created significant challenges, including making it harder for our law enforcement officials to make ends meet once they were done with their service to California. Yes, pension reform is necessary. It's an expense. However, we have a surplus right now. There's absolutely no reason that we need to balance that on the backs of promises that we have made to workers. And I also don't believe in making a two-tier worker system. We absolutely can't penalize our current workforce, our current young workforce. We have to continue to support them and make sure that everybody has the wages and the promises that they need in order to live with dignity.
Paula, do you support Proposition 1, the amendment to the California Constitution on the upcoming ballot that would protect the right to have an abortion in California?
I 100% unequivocally support Proposition 1, and there could not be a clearer contrast on this issue in this race. Proposition 1 will secure access to abortion and health care services for women in California. It's important to also note that there's a promise to contraceptive access as well, contraception access there as well. This is incredibly important to enshrine this right into our Constitution. The Dobbs decision and the fall of Roe v. Wade was absolutely devastating. And many of us live in a world where the daughter that I will be bringing into the world shortly will have less rights than we did. And that's completely unacceptable, and that's not a future that I want for my children. It is absolutely important that we pass Proposition 1, but not only that, continue to invest and ensure that women in California have access to critical health care services, including abortion services.
Roger?
I am pro-life. It's a personally held belief, but I am also mindful of the fact that I am pro-life in an overwhelmingly pro-choice state. Proposition 1 is unnecessary. The established policy of the state was similar to the federal policy before the Dobbs decision. I don't see any reason to enshrine that in the Constitution. And quite frankly, I would rather work on other issues such as homelessness, the spike in crime, increasing school choice, reducing the regulatory barriers in our state. But I would say I do support access to contraceptives.
Roger, a couple more questions for you both on public safety. New research examines law enforcement stops, use of force and misconduct, and the racial disparities in police interactions. What can you do to address this in the Senate?
Let me first. Mm-hmm. Yeah, training. It is imperative that our police be trained to avoid such disparities, to avoid abuses in any sort of traffic stops, but not to completely prohibit traffic stops.
Paula?
I just also want to quickly, the previous question, to call Prop 1 unnecessary, or the promise to uphold previous commitments in Roe v. Wade unnecessary, is completely irresponsible. It's irresponsible to dismiss the healthcare needs of half of our population. And I want to note that we know that this is not where it ends. We know that there's a playbook to go after issues that we hold dear, like marriage equality and other really important issues. On the issue at hand and the question, we absolutely must improve trust between law enforcement officials and communities of colors in the state. One study found that in Sacramento, Black people are 4 times more likely to be stopped by by police than white people, despite being less likely than white people to be found carrying contraband. It is not a crime to be a person of color walking down the street in this state or in this community, and we absolutely must make sure that we're holding our law enforcement officials accountable to that end.
Paula, California is one of the most restrictive states regarding public access to police records that are often needed to address misconduct. Do you support legislation that would make police department records and public safety agencies in the state more accessible to the public?
Yes, I support increasing transparency over peace officer misconduct records. Accountability is a two-way street. Law enforcement officials hold those who engage in criminal conduct accountable, and law enforcement officers should also be held accountable for that misconduct.
Roger.
I support transparency and accountability in all areas of government, including public safety.
Candidates, final question. Roger, what will you both do to ensure you are not corrupted by opportunities to profit from this position in the state Senate?
Well, I spent 6 years on the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors and 6 years in the Senate, in the State Assembly. And I will assure you that my personal income was less under those endeavors had I stayed in the employment that I had before I went. I turned down per diems that I was justified to, and I also refused all raises that were granted to Assembly members while I was in the Assembly. I do not view this as a profit-making enterprise. It is public service, and I expect to do my very best as a public servant.
Professionally, I have always had an open door policy, and in fact, I pride myself both as a policy consultant to the legislature, as Assistant Secretary for Health and Human Services Agency, and as an advocate and as a school board member in bringing to the table people who might not necessarily agree with each other and sorting out the best policy to move forward for all Californians. And that open door policy, making sure that all views are respected in my office, is the approach that I would take in the state Senate as well. It's worth noting that California has some of the strongest ethics laws as well in terms of reporting requirements and other obligations for elected officials at all levels of government. And it's a commitment that I have maintained well and proudly as a school board member, and that's something I will continue as a state senator.
All right, it's time for closing statements, and we'll begin with 1 minute from Roger Nilo.
Thank you very much, Paula, and thanks again to the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this debate, as they do so many others. Again, I would say that my past experience gives me great familiarity with this district, as well as a working knowledge of the legislative process. As I said before, that along with my collaborative and, as the Sacramento Bee said when they endorsed me, collegial approach, I will hit the ground running. I'd be very honored to earn your vote and allow me to represent you again in the California State Legislature. And to learn more, please visit rogernilo.com.
Thank you very much for the wonderful afternoon and exchange of ideas. And as your state senator, I will work to continue to improve public education and adequately fund education, to expand access to high quality, affordable health care, and to bring down the cost of living and fight for livable, affordable wages. These are fights that are very personal to me, and I will show up every single day because I know exactly what it means when policies and when government leaves me or my family behind in certain policies. And one thing that I want to leave voters with in this, from this forum, is that there's a very clear difference of what what to choose and what's on your ballot here for State Senate District 6. On one side, you have someone who comes from generational wealth, who will fight for the higher profits of the individuals who've contributed to his campaign, including oil and tobacco companies, looking out for their profits. Or you can vote for someone who has and always will fight for our children, our families, and our communities, and is endorsed by doctors, nurses, teachers, firefighters, school staff, and many others. To learn more, please visit paula.vote. Thank you very much.
All right. I want to thank both of you for running for this important office, where your votes, should you be elected, will impact not only your district, but many voters and residents of our state. So thank you for being here today to answer questions from voters. And thanks to our timer, Claudia Bonsignori, and the folks here at Metro Cable. They've been so great with this venue and letting us do all the forums here. Thank you so much. So voters, ballots have gone out now. And if you've moved or changed your signature recently, you really need to re-register. That deadline is October 24th to register to vote or to re-register. And you can do it easily online at registertovote.ca.gov. You can mail your ballot, put it in a secure drop box, or vote in person at a vote center. Drop boxes and vote center locations are listed in the information that came with your ballot. So now with the Voters' Choice Act, we have time. You can sit down at your table with your ballot, maybe with your family, maybe with some friends, and review it. The League has provided nonpartisan resources on candidates and ballot questions at votersedge.org. So now if you watch this forum, you are a more informed voter. And you can view it at your convenience along with other forums that the League has done and pro and con ballot measure forums. All those YouTube links can be found on our website, lwvsacramento.org. So please pass on what you've learned, and most importantly, vote and encourage others to vote. Good afternoon.